Okay, we're ready. Sino mag-i-intro pala? Walang ya. Sino mag-i-intro?
Siya una eh.
Banaag ulit.
Banaag, ikaw
Ah.
mag-i-intro.
Our topic for today, yun lang ang babaguhin mo.
Hanggang sa
Eh, wala
hanggang
wala yung...
sa pati yung who we are, like the tres locas and all that.
Same.
Same. Oo.
Iba lang yung
Teka,
topic.
Hindi nag-prepare ng assignment.
wala kasi ang assignment ko, third ako, kaya akala ko yung una ang magagawa ng
Hindi, ikaw palagi ang welcome.
Hi everyone, welcome to Usapang Walalang. Loosely, it means aimless conversation. Here we'll be talking about ordinary stuff from the perspective of boomers like us. And who is us? We're Tres Locas. I'm Lisa, and I'm coming to you from the great state of Texas.
I'm Lou, and I'm streaming from the sunshine state of Florida.
And I'm Tita, coming from halfway around the world, the Philippines, where things are always more fun.
Today, we'll be talking about Christmas in the Philippines, our traditions, and what happens during the celebration of Christmas. So we'll be talking about the traditions and things that we do that differentiate us from the world. So Lou, take it away.
Okay, Christmas in the Philippines is one of the most exciting event or celebration to most Filipinos. And despite their losses or crises, most are usually engaged because the center figure of this season is one, and that's Jesus Christ. As you know, in the Philippines, most Filipinos are Catholics. So the season starts in September, where you hear all those Christmas songs, jingle bells, and most houses and stores are starting to put up the Christmas decoration. Then it goes through December and ends at the Feast of the Three Kings, which is usually about the first weekend of January. So it is one of the longest celebration of Christmas. No, those balikbayans, those are the Filipinos living abroad, time their visit during this season, and it can be very expensive. Now, you know that our country, the Philippines, is not a very rich country. Not everybody can really afford to buy Christmas presents, Christmas decoration, or even a simple Christmas feast. But the celebration of Pasko is rooted from an internal source, a higher being, which is Jesus Christ. Now, let's talk about the history of the word Pasko. So, Pasko came from the Spanish word Pascua, Pascua, which is Pascua de Navidad, which is Easter of the Nativity. Okay, Pascua has a root from the Latin Pascha, Pascha, or from the Greek word Pashka, which is Pashka, which is Passover. Now, the word Pascua is still being used in some regional dialects like Iligayon, Chavacano, or even the Ilocano. Now, the root word Pasko is usually seen in different Christmas terms like Kapaskuhan, which is the season of Christmas, Namamasko, which is the carolers, Pamamasko, which is the act of caroling, which is the caroling, Pamasko, which is the gift that we receive from our Ninong or Ninang, and Pampasko, which is the clothes that we wear during Christmas. Right? So I remember I always want a new dress at Christmas. Now, Christmas is also celebrated in a more traditional way in some regions of the Philippines. And I did even notice that in Bohol, there's what you call Daygon, Daygon, Daygon sa Pagkatao, which is praise for the birth. So this is a community theater with carol tradition that has almost disappeared in Bohol, except for a few towns. So what it is, it's a religious reenactment of the travel of the holy couple, which is Virgin Mary and Saint Joseph, prior to giving birth. So usually they travel in the community. It's in the community. The homeowners are part of the theater, and they are the ones who are refusing the couple from coming into the house until they uh, end up in a stable or a very poor section of the town, which is where Jesus was born. So he was born in the poorest of the poor. So this usually is rooted in a Mexican tradition of pastores, and they involve songs, they involve haughty neighbors, they involve props, like movable props. Now, the second one is what you call the panunuluyan. Panunuluyan is request to come in. So it is really about the same theme as Saigon, which is travel towards the nativity. So this is usually celebrated on Christmas Eve. It's still rooted to the Mexican posadas. Some are in costume, some are just in their ordinary clothes, some are used just images, like the one in Holy Week with Carol, right? The most elaborate of this Panunuluyan is in Kawit, Cavite. But I have not seen this, and hopefully I will be able to witness this in one of our trips to the Philippines. Then in Cagayan, the third variety, in Cagayan, they have what you call pastores. Pastores is shepherds. So this one is a dramatization of the shepherds' adoration of the infant Jesus. So what they do is for a few days, it's celebrated a few days at Christmas. They are like singing, they're wearing costumes, and they go from house to house singing Christmas, which is probably the caroling that we know today. Now, the girls have bamboo, what you call castanets. The boys have what you call the bamboo tube, and basically accompanies the singing. So, but among us, the three of us, we are very familiar with what you call the Simbang Gabi, right? So, Simbang Gabi, then I will ask Tita to elaborate on this topic. Take away, Tita.
All right. Thanks, Lou. Um, but before I go on with the Simbang Gabi, I'd like to just react to what you described earlier, because it gave it just listening to you evoked a lot of Christmas images in my mind. But let me just focus on one. The word daigon, I am reminded, actually, that's the same word that we use also to describe caroling. Christmas carolers, when they come to your door and they start singing, we call that daigon. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a long forgotten word. But okay,
Mhm.
let me fast forward to today. Today, when we hear Christmas carolers, when they're just starting their maracas, or sometimes they're just starting their guitar, somebody from inside the house will start yelling, "Patawa!"
Katawa. Pass on.
which means we're sorry, but we're not giving anything, like we're not here, we're not home, we don't like your caroling. And that has evolved over the years into that, because these carolers, some of them have bad elements. What do I mean? It's called salisi. Salisi means it's like a magician. He does something out here in the open, but the other hand is doing something else covertly. So you have Christmas carolers in the open, they're in front of you, but actually some of them are doing something
The back.
else, like behind your back, in your, maybe in the other side of your wall. They're climbing your wall, they're climbing over into your property, and they're starting to rob you. So today, when we hear
Oh.
those Christmas carolers begin their cling 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 with their make do instruments, we start yelling from inside the house, "Patawa! Walang tao. There's nobody home."
They
Okay.
use it as a distraction, huh?
Exactly.
Especially.
So, on to Simbang Gabi. Pasko sa Pilipinas. Christmas in the Philippines will never be complete unless there's Simbang Gabi. Simbang Gabi and the Parol are actually two of the most iconic items, no, elements when we talk about Christmas in the Philippines. No? Maybe there's a third item. Maybe I should include Jose Marichan because
Mhm.
Oh,
he has become a real
that's the
icon.
newest one.
It's the newest
Oh.
icon to be added. But anyway, not to be distracted. Let's talk first about Simbang Gabi. Uh, it was a common practice. It still is a common practice among farmers that around the time of December, that's when they usually complete their harvest season. And during that time, they are now in the process of stacking and securing their produce, getting ready for market season. Um, During that time, they also hold gratitude prayers. No, now enter the Spaniards, the Spanish priests. No, when the Spaniards came around, the parish priest thought it to be a good compromise to reschedule the evening novenas to the early hours of the morning before the farmers would leave for their farm. So it was a perfect way to make sure that the farmers are fresh from a good night's sleep and in their best spirits for the spiritual exercises. So these early morning novena prayers eventually evolved to become what we now know as Simbang Gabi. Now, the word Simba means holy mass and Gabi means nighttime. This tradition is also commonly known as Misa de Gallo. Gallo means rooster. So what that means is, and when we say rooster, that's it. This is nature's unflinching alarm clock. So it means mass, the first mass held at the first crow of the rooster. So traditionally, Simbang Gabi is held at 4 a.m. beginning on December 16. That was yesterday, today in your time, and ending with Christmas Eve on the 25th. No? Now, let's talk about the parol. The Filipino word parol actually is an adaptation of the Spanish word farol, spelled with an F. But because the parol came, I mean, I think it started in Pampanga by somebody called Francisco Estanislao. So the F became P, and therefore parol, meaning lantern. Its history travels back to Italy in the 1300s, passed on to Spain, Spain to Mexico, and then finally reaching our shores courtesy of the Spanish conquistadors. Oral history has it also that in those days, when people, the farmers, the people walked to church, they needed a torch or a light source to light their way going to church. Um, and then getting back home from church, instead of storing these torches, they would hang their lanterns outside the windows to bring light to the rest of the community. So romantic, di
Mm.
ba? So here we see how Simbang Gabi and the Parol complement each other. Now, to stay relevant, these two traditions have actually evolved also over time. For example, Simbang Gabi, whereas before it used to be traditionally at 4 a.m., today we now have what we call anticipated Simbang Gabi. This is to accommodate a large number of our population, the working class, no, um, who end their office days usually at 5, 5:30, 6, and all that. They have to commute, and when they get to their destination, they're there just in time to attend the 8 p.m. anticipated Simbang Gabi. That means, therefore, that instead of starting December 16, the anticipated mass goers begin December 15, 8 p.m. There you go. Now, which also is that unlike the old days where, during the 60s, 70s, and even up to the mid 80s, the food stalls outside the church would only sell rice cakes. The two best sellers being puto bumbong
Bibingka.
and bibingka. And then, of course, paired with hot chocolate. Today, guess what? The food stalls now sell hot dog and waffles and donuts. And, okay, I'm sure you don't know this. You don't know these words. Kwek kwek, Adidas.
What is
Adidas,
quack quack?
kwek kwek, I think, are the quail eggs.
Mm.
and boiled quail eggs, and then they're made tusok-tusok into a barbecue stick. So that's quite.
Okay.
And then Adidas are the
Okay.
chicken feet.
Chicken feet.
And then you also have the IUD. You don't know
Ah,
IUD. You should know IUD because you're medical doctors, right? The IUD are actually the chicken intestines, bituka ng manok. So it looks like an IUD, right? And then it's also made tusok-tusok with the barbecue stick. So and many other food variants. So there.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
it's not even sounding very appetizing.
oh my
Mm.
gosh. So also the parol has also
Thank you for
evolved.
that.
Exactly.
I'll stick to puto bumbong and bibingka.
So okay, so here's another thing. The parol, from its humble beginnings of using bamboo as framework and coconut oil lamps, now we see them in various makes and sizes. The most popular being the ones made in Pampanga, and they could be really huge, gigantic, garish,
Mhm.
bright colored lights and whatever material they use to make it really very colorful. And of course, their classier counterpart would be the ones made of capiz shells. As we know, the capiz shells, you cannot dye them, you cannot color them. I mean, you can color them, but it fades. No, whatever color it is, it won't stick because these are made from natural materials. No, so capiz shells are they're also used to make parols in a classier version. Um, they're how do you call this, translucent nature makes it very nice when you put lamps inside. So, but with the advent of electric lights, the utilitarian function of the parol in relation to Simbang Gabi has been gone long ago. No, although the parol continues to leave its footprints in Filipino homes and, more importantly, in the Filipino psyche as an expression of shared hope and a prayer of gratitude, reflecting the Filipinos' deep spiritual connection with the one true light, as Lou mentioned earlier, and that is coming from our Lord Jesus Christ. So now that we've talked about Simbang Gabi and Parol, I think there are a lot more traditions and practices that are present in the Filipino culture. And we'll hear more about that from Liza.
Well, thank you, Tita. And thank you, ladies, for deciding to talk about Christmas in the Philippines because it's that time of year. It makes me really miss celebrating Christmas at home because we have a special and unique Christmas celebration. I say unique because I believe that we're the only one who celebrates Christmas for 3 whole weeks. I mean, solid weeks. Imagine that. That's good for kids and students, but not so much for adults who need something done, for example, in the government or companies. Because between December 16 to January, the first weekend of January, nothing really gets done. People are busy preparing Christmas, Christmas party, shopping, gift giving. What makes this possible is the practice of the 13-month pay. It's an extra compensation that's given to an employee. I thought, because I've never worked in the Philippines, that everybody gets a month's worth of pay extra at the end of the year. By looking into it, I was surprised that it is mandated by the government.
Correct.
And the criteria is very, very easy to reach. As long as you work 1 month, you get, and you are entitled to a 13-month pay.
Mhm.
But to be uh, to be even, they calculate. I didn't know that you have to there's a calculation involved as well. So they calculate the amount of money you make for the year divided by 12, and you get 1/12 amount of pay for the year. So then people have extra money to use to buy and prepare for Christmas. So, and then the other thing too that we have used, there's a lot of things that starts happening on the 16th of December, like you said, Simbang Gabi. Then we have that 13-month pay, and oh, because that has to be paid before December 24. The other thing is the monito monita. That's our version of Kris Kringle or Secret Santa. The difference is Secret Santa and Kris Kringle, you only exchange gift one time. You pick a name and you give in one day, probably during Christmas party. Of course, the Filipinos have to change it and make it different. So we have to pick a name and you have to start giving them little gifts every day starting December 16, keeping yourself anonymous and not revealing your identity.
See, that's
At
why
the
it's more fun in the Philippines, right?
It's always modified,
It's
yes.
modified.
They always come up with things. So at the end of the term, which usually is at a Christmas Eve or during a Christmas party, if it's an office or school,
Correct.
then the receiver is now tasked to give a gift to the person giving them gifts for the last few days. So that's when the reveal comes.
Yeah.
So if you've been good in giving gifts, you might have a better gift when they return the gift to you. So,
You're held at
and
ransom. You're held at ransom for the
yeah,
time being.
so you have to be really good. And you mentioned caroling, Tita. Uh, that starts also on the 16th. It's funny because the kids in the neighborhood, they just start singing Christmas song and banging on your gate like it's an accompaniment for their song. Now, traditionally, we give money to them. And because usually these kids come from less fortunate families, you give them money because that's an opportunity to give. So it's good to see them light up and be happy when they leave. But be careful and remember their faces because they'll keep coming back. I mean, they keep coming back and they're going to
Repeat.
tell everybody that, oh, that house gives a good money. And so you suddenly see all the kids in the neighborhood coming to your house. It's like
Yeah.
a trick or treat.
Yeah.
Trick
Over
or
and
treating in
over.
the,
Over and over. And it's every day. The same faces every
yeah.
day. Oh my
You
God.
said, weren't you here last
Enterprising.
night?
Very enterprising.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yes.
It has actually become an enterprise already. Yeah,
Mhm. It becomes a career.
that too.
So I don't know. Did you and then we have the Noche Buena.
Mm.
Noche Buena is the big midnight meal after the Mass, Christmas Eve. So you attend the midnight Mass, you come home to a big meal. And that's why I explained to my American friends we don't have Santa Claus here because one, we don't have chimney. Second, everybody's awake at midnight eating big meal.
Yeah,
So no chance for Santa Claus to sneak in and leave the gifts.
right.
But in the morning, what we have experienced as a child, as when I was growing up, the following day we wake up and visit all our godparents who normally will prepare gifts
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
Now, if we're lucky, we have gifts and money.
Mhm.
Now, you know the traffic in the Philippines is so bad, so you don't hit everybody in one day. So that's why it's extended to January. So you have that 1 week to visit everybody.
So,
I
so
remember that.
godparents cannot hide because it's
Exactly.
extended. Christmas is extended all the way to January.
Yeah,
So
there's no deadline. You can still go to their house and collect.
yeah,
Yeah. And yes, we talk about gifts, but it's just a reflection of appreciation because God has been generous to us, generous to even give his only son to come and save us. So in turn, we give gifts to our little ones, our loved ones. And so that's still a wonderful tradition in the Philippines.
Pasko, Pasko, Pasko na
Pasko
naman
na
naman
naman
muli.
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 Tanging araw
Raw
na
na
ating pinakamimiti.
mimithi.
Pasko, Pasko,
Pasko.
I have to give
Pasko
you
na
Pasko
naman.
coins
na naman
because
muli. Ang
patawad.
pag-ibig.
Yes. That's the right
Okay.
word, patawad.
All
So
right.
that's, yeah.
So hope you enjoyed our episode, our talk today. And keep watching. Don't forget to follow us on our next episode. But before you go, don't forget to click the like button, hit the subscribe, and share. Bye bye.
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 Let's go.